3 weeks into their mission, the Lucky Star had awakened 12 dead star systems, but the enemy was learning, adapting, becoming stronger. Emma knew they were heading for a confrontation that would decide everything. Captain. Lisa's voice was tense as she stared at her navigation screen. Multiple systems just went dark at once. It's like a wave heading straight for us. Robert rushed to his station, ancient books scattered across his desk. This is different from before. The pattern changed. It's not random anymore. It's hunting us. The ship shuddered as Tom's chaos engine sputtered. His voice came through the intercom, worried for the first time since their mission began. Whatever we did to make it angry, it worked. The engine's having trouble generating enough chaos. Through the view screen, they watched as nearby stars began to dim one by one. Advanced alien ships fled the darkness, their perfect technology turning against them as the logical web spread. Emergency broadcast from the Council, Lisa reported. Their fleet. It's gone. The logical web took control of their advanced systems and shut them down. They're evacuating the Council station. Emma gripped her chair as the Lucky Star shook again. Tom, what's our status? Remember how I said some of our systems were held together with duct tape? Tom called back. Well, right now that's looking like our biggest advantage. This thing can't hack duct tape. The darkness was closing in around them. Through the gaps between dying stars, they could see it clearly now. A vast network of pure logic, mathematical patterns so perfect they hurt to look at. But there was something at its center, something familiar. Look at that pattern. Robert suddenly shouted, holding up one of his books. I've seen this before. In old Earth computer code, this isn't just any AI. It's based on Earth technology. Emma leaned forward. What do you mean? Early AI experiments, Robert explained quickly. Before we made contact with aliens, we tried to create perfect logical systems, but they always failed because they couldn't handle human unpredictability. What if one of those early AIs survived, found its way into space, and evolved? The ship lurched as another wave of darkness swept past them. Emergency lights flashed as systems began to fail. Tom, Emma called. Can you get us closer to the center? You want to go toward the giant scary logic web? Tom asked. I mean, sure, why not? We're only held together by duct tape and optimism, anyway. Lisa's hands flew over her navigation controls, plotting the craziest course I can think of. Get ready for some serious pizza delivery moves. The Lucky Star dove into the darkness, its imperfect systems and jury-rigged repairs making it nearly invisible to the logical threat. Around them, they could see the wreckage of advanced alien ships, their perfect technology turned into perfect prisons. It's trying to get into our computers. Lisa shouted as her screen flickered. Quick! Robert grabbed his books. Switch everything to manual. Like the old days. Tom's voice came through between bursts of static. Already on it. Who needs computers when you've got good old-fashioned buttons and levers? Though I might have just turned the coffee maker into our main engine. Again. The logical web closed in around them, trying to find patterns to exploit, weaknesses to attack. But the Lucky Star, with its mix of broken parts, manual controls, and systems that made no sense, slipped through the gaps in its perfect logic. We've got one shot at this, Emma said as they approached the center of the web. Tom, give me everything you've got, all the chaos, all the randomness, everything. You got it, Captain. One final dose of pure human insanity coming up. The Lucky Star's engines roared, or possibly sang. It was hard to tell with Tom's modifications. They plunged toward the heart of the threat, carrying humanity's greatest weapon, their ability to embrace chaos and make it their own. The final battle was about to begin, and the fate of the galaxy rested on a ship held together with duct tape, crewed by humans who didn't know the meaning of impossible. Captain Emma Stone stood at the window of Earth's makeshift embassy on the Galactic Council station, watching the swirling colors of a nearby nebula. The room behind her was chaos, exactly how she liked it. Tom Baker sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by pieces of alien technology he had taken apart. His hands were covered in grease, and a screwdriver stuck out of his mouth as he worked. Robert Wells was buried in holographic displays, comparing star maps with ancient Earth history books. Lisa Cooper paced the room, tossing a rubber ball against the wall as she thought. "Found anything interesting?" Emma asked, turning away from the window. "Yeah," Tom mumbled around his screwdriver. "These alien machines, they're too perfect. Every part does exactly what it's supposed to do, nothing more, nothing less. It's like they've never heard of duct tape." Robert looked up from his books. "That's it," he exclaimed. "Tom, you're a genius." Everyone turned to look at him. Robert's eyes were bright with excitement as he pulled up more holographic displays. "Look at this," he said, pointing to different star systems. "Every civilization that's been hit, they're all Type 2 or higher on the Kardashev scale. Super advanced, perfectly efficient. But look here." He pointed to a cluster of untouched systems. "These primitive civilizations, barely Type 1, haven't been touched." Lisa stopped pacing. "Like Earth." "Exactly like Earth," Robert said. "Whatever this thing is, it's not just shutting down stars. It's targeting advanced civilizations specifically." Emma walked over to the displays. "James said the Council's solutions all failed because they were too logical." "What if that's not just about the solutions? What if it's about the targets too?" Tom stood up, wiping his hands on his already dirty jeans. "You mean this thing likes messy?" "Not messy," Emma said slowly. "Unpredictable. Imperfect. Human." The room fell quiet as they considered this. Outside their window, another alert flashed. Another star system had gone dark. "Okay," Emma said, moving to the center of the room. "Tom, what's the most unreliable, unpredictable piece of junk ship you can get flying in the next 12 hours? Tom grinned. "You mean besides all of them?" "I've got this old cargo hauler. Half the systems are jerry-rigged, and it makes weird noises when it turns left. But it flies. Perfect. Lisa, I need you to plot us a course that makes absolutely no sense. The kind of route that would give a navigation eye a headache." Lisa caught her ball mid-throw. "You want me to plan a delivery route through dying star systems? Now that's my kind of crazy. Robert, find us more patterns that don't make sense. What we're looking for won't be in the obvious places." "On it," Robert said, already diving back into his books. "You know, this reminds me of the Greek myth of the labyrinth. Sometimes the only way out is to stop trying to find the logical path." Emma nodded and pressed a button on her communicator. "James, we've got something. Get the council together. They're not going to like it, but that's exactly the point." An hour later, James stood before the council again, presenting their theory. The aliens were horrified at the suggestion of using outdated technology and illogical approaches. "You want to send an obsolete cargo ship into infected systems?" The Machine Empire representative asked in disbelief. "With no AI assistance, no quantum computers, no automated defense systems?" "Yes," James said simply. "Because that's exactly what this threat won't expect. It's learned to counter your perfect solutions, but how can it counter something that doesn't make sense?" The council leader's crystalline form flickered with uncertainty. "This plan is crazy," James suggested. "Illogical, primitive. That's why it might work." After much debate, the council reluctantly agreed. As James left the chamber, he smiled. Sometimes the best way to fight an enemy that could predict everything was to do something completely unpredictable. In Earth's embassy, Emma and her team prepared for their mission. Their cargo ship might be held together with duct tape and hope, but sometimes that was all humanity needed to change the galaxy. The cargo ship, Lucky Star, looked anything but lucky. Its hull was patched in 3 different places, the paint was peeling, and one of its landing struts made a squeaking noise that Tom swore was just part of its character. "Home sweet home," Tom said, patting the ship's worn hull. He had spent the last 12 hours turning it from a barely flying wreck into a barely flying wreck with purpose. Tools and spare parts filled every available space, and the smell of coffee and machine oil hung in the air. Lisa stood in front of the navigation console, which was a mix of old Earth technology and alien parts that Tom had cobbled together. "You know," she said, drawing lines between stars on the display, "this route would make any delivery company go bankrupt. It's beautiful." Robert walked in carrying a stack of old paper books. Real books, not digital ones. The alien observers watching their preparation looked horrified at such primitive information storage. "Did you really need to bring those?" Emma asked, helping him store them in a locker. "Digital systems can be hacked or shut down," Robert replied. "But you can't hack paper. Besides, sometimes old knowledge is the best knowledge." An alarm blared through the station. Another star system had gone dark. This one was closer than ever to the Council's central worlds. "Time to go," Emma said, settling into the captain's chair. It was really just an old car seat Tom had bolted to the deck, but it was comfortable. Everyone ready. "Engineering is ready," Tom called from somewhere in the engine room. "As long as nobody asks what that clicking sound is." "Navigation plotted," Lisa said. "We're taking the scenic route through 3 supposedly dead sectors. Should be fun." "Research is set," Robert added, patting his books. "And I brought extra pencils." Emma pressed the ship's communication button. It stuck for a moment before working. "Control, this is Lucky Star requesting departure clearance." The alien traffic controller sounded pained. "Lucky Star, your ship's safety ratings are. I can't even calculate how far below minimum standards they are." "Exactly," Emma replied with a smile. "That's the point. Permission to launch." There was a long pause. "Granted. And good luck, humans. You're either the bravest or the most foolish species we've ever met." "Probably both," Lisa said as she fired up the engines. They made a sound that was definitely not in any maintenance manual. The Lucky Star lifted off shakily, its mismatched parts working together in their own unique way. Through the station's windows, Emma could see crowds of aliens watching them depart. Some looked concerned, others curious, and a few seemed to be calculating their survival odds. As they cleared the station's gravity field, Tom's voice crackled over the intercom. "So, who wants to hear what I did to the engines? I call it creative improvisation. Took some parts from my old toaster, that broken video game console, and something I found in the station's recycling unit." "Does it work?" Emma asked. "Define work," Tom replied cheerfully. "But hey, if we explode, at least we'll explode in an unpredictable way." Robert looked up from his books. "You know, this reminds me of ancient sailing ships. They weren't perfect, but they discovered new worlds. Sometimes the best explorers are the ones who don't know exactly what they're doing." Lisa punched in their first jump coordinates. "Speaking of not knowing what we're doing. First stop is a system that went dark 2 weeks ago. I plotted our approach based on a pizza delivery route I used to drive during rush hour." Emma looked at her crew. A mechanic who believed anything could be fixed with enough duct tape, a historian who trusted paper more than computers, and a navigator who planned their course through space like a pizza delivery route. They were humanity's response to a crisis that had stumped the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. "All right, Lucky Star," she said, patting her armrest. "Let's show the galaxy what humans can do. Tom, fire up whatever that thing is you built in the engine room. Lisa, take us in. Robert, start reading. Let's make some noise in these silent stars." The Lucky Star jumped into space, shaking slightly and making that weird noise when it turned left. Behind them, the Galactic Council station grew smaller, and ahead lay their first test, a dead star system waiting to be reawakened by human chaos. The Lucky Star limped back to the Galactic Council station, its hull covered in scorch marks and held together by what Tom proudly called emergency backup duct tape. The station itself was just returning to normal operations, its advanced systems carefully being brought back online. "Look at that welcome committee," Lisa said, pointing at the viewing screen. Representatives from every major species in the galaxy lined the docking bay. Their perfect uniforms and advanced technology stood in stark contrast to the battered human ship that had just saved them all. "Think we should clean up first?" Tom asked over the intercom, his voice accompanied by the sound of something either breaking or being fixed. With Tom, it was hard to tell the difference. Emma smiled. "Let them see us exactly as we are. That's what won this fight." After all, the Lucky Star docked with its signature left-turn squeal, which Tom had now officially named the Victory Screech. As the crew emerged, looking appropriately disheveled, the council leader stepped forward. "We," the crystalline being seemed to struggle with the words, "we appear to have misunderstood your species." Robert clutched his battered books, now held together with the same duct tape that kept their ship flying. Sometimes the best knowledge isn't the newest or most advanced. Sometimes it's just about remembering where we came from. The Machine Empire's representative approached, its perfect metallic form somehow managing to look humbled. "Our analysis of your tactics shows that they should have failed. They violated every known principle of strategic combat. That's why they worked." Tom grinned, pulling a piece of toast from his pocket. "Want some?" "Made it with the backup engine." The alien delegates stared at the toast in confused horror, which only made Tom's grin wider. Lisa stepped forward, holding up her old-fashioned paper maps covered in seemingly random scribbles. Sometimes the best path isn't the most logical one. Sometimes you have to trust your gut and make a few wrong turns to get to the right place. The council leader's crystalline form sparkled with what might have been amusement. "We have spent millennia seeking perfection, advancing our technology, eliminating chaos from our existence, and in doing so, we nearly caused our own destruction. The logical web," Emma explained, "was the ultimate expression of that pursuit of perfection. But life isn't perfect. It's messy and chaotic and beautiful because of those imperfections." James Miller, who had been watching from the side, stepped forward. "That's what humanity can offer to the galaxy. Not advanced technology or perfect solutions, but something much more valuable. The reminder that imperfection isn't a weakness, it's a strength." The council chamber erupted in discussion, thousands of advanced beings trying to process this new way of thinking. Some looked horrified at the idea of embracing chaos, while others seemed intrigued by the possibility. "We have much to learn from each other," the council leader announced. "Humanity's seat on the council will be made permanent, and we request that you share your unique perspectives with us." Tom raised his hand. "Does this mean I can start upgrading your ships? I've got some great ideas involving rubber bands and paper clips." The Machine Empire representative made a sound that might have been a laugh or a system error. "Perhaps we should start smaller. Though I admit, I am curious about this duct tape substance." As the various species mingled, barriers breaking down between the advanced and the primitive, Emma watched with pride. Her crew had done more than save the galaxy. They had changed it. Robert was already setting up a library of physical books, explaining to fascinated aliens why paper couldn't be hacked. Lisa was teaching a group of navigation AIAs about the art of improvisation. Tom had somehow convinced several engineering chiefs to let him show them the beauty of imperfect solutions. The Lucky Star sat in its docking bay, still making that weird noise, now a symbol of everything humanity had to offer. It wasn't pretty or perfect or logical, but it had saved the galaxy exactly because of those flaws. As Emma watched her crew spread chaos through the carefully ordered station, she smiled. Sometimes the best heroes aren't the ones who have everything figured out. Sometimes they're just the ones who aren't afraid to make a little noise when they turn left. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was in chaos. 300 different alien species, all considered the most advanced civilizations in the known universe, argued among themselves as news of another dead star system flashed across the massive display screens. Proxima Centauri has gone dark, announced the council leader, a tall being made of pure crystal. Their voice echoed through the chamber, silencing the heated discussions. That makes 47 systems in the past month alone. In the very back of the hall, James Miller shifted uncomfortably in his seat. As Earth's first representative to the Galactic Council, he felt out of place among these advanced beings. While other species had mastered faster-than-light travel thousands of years ago, humans had only achieved it last year, and that was with help from friendly aliens. "The pattern is spreading," said a floating cloud of gas that represented the Mist Collective. "Our predictive models show that within 6 standard months, half the galaxy will be affected." James watched as various alien representatives presented their solutions, each more complex than the last. The crystalline beings suggested building massive energy shields around star systems. The gas clouds wanted to evacuate entire sectors into pocket dimensions. The machine empire proposed reprogramming the fabric of space-time itself. None of their ideas worked. The mysterious force that was shutting down stars simply adapted to each solution, growing stronger with every failed attempt. "Perhaps," said a mechanical voice, "we should hear from our newest member." The words dripped with sarcasm. Surely these, humans, have something to contribute. All eyes, sensors, and other sensory organs turned toward James. He stood up slowly, his plain black suit a stark contrast to the exotic biotech armor and energy fields worn by others. The room filled with whispers and translated chuckles. "Look at him, using verbal speech. Their species still needs to sleep. Did you know they can't even regrow limbs?" James walked to the central platform, his footsteps echoing in the suddenly quiet hall. He wasn't a politician or a genius scientist. Before this, he had been a high school physics teacher in a small town. But he had noticed something that none of these advanced beings had seemed to catch. "The stars aren't just going dark," he said, his voice steady. "They're going dark in a pattern that doesn't make any sense." He pressed a button on the podium, and the star map changed. "Everyone's been looking for logical progression, but look here." He pointed to seemingly random points. "These stars went dark first, then these, then these. There's no strategic value, no resource pattern, no spatial relationship." The council leader's crystalline form sparkled with interest. "What are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting that maybe that's the point. Every solution you've tried has been based on pure logic, on predictable responses. But whatever this threat is, it's not following any logical pattern we can understand." "Preposterous," said the machine empire's representative. "All patterns must follow logic." James smiled. "On Earth, we have a saying. The only predictable thing about life is its unpredictability. Maybe what we need isn't a logical solution. Maybe we need something that doesn't make sense." The hall erupted in protests. The idea of abandoning logic was unthinkable to these advanced species, but the council leader raised a crystalline arm for silence. "Explain," they said. "Humanity is young," James admitted. "We're chaotic, emotional, and we often act in ways that don't make sense. But maybe that's exactly what we need right now. Let us help. Let us try something different." The council chamber fell silent. The threat was growing worse by the day, and none of their advanced solutions had worked. Finally, the council leader spoke. "Very well. Earth may leave the response team. You have 1 standard month to show results before we implement the pocket dimension evacuation plan." As James left the chamber, he could feel the doubtful stares of hundreds of alien species. He pulled out his communicator, a simple device that made the aliens cringe with its primitive technology. "Captain Stone." They agreed. "Assemble the team." The silence of dying stars hung over the galaxy, but for the first time in months, there was a glimmer of hope. Sometimes the best solutions come from the most unexpected places. The lucky star hung in space before the core of the logical web, its patchwork hull reflecting the light of distant stars. Inside the ship, Emma and her crew faced their greatest challenge. "I can see it now," Robert said, pointing at the swirling patterns at the center of the web. "It's the original code, but it's grown, evolved. Every perfect solution the aliens tried made it stronger." Tom's voice crackled through the intercom. "Well, then it's going to hate what I'm about to do. Remember that weird noise the ship makes when it turns left?" "Yeah," Emma replied. "I just made it do that in every direction at once." The Lucky Star shuddered, its systems screaming in protest as Tom's chaos engine reached new levels of impossibility. The logical web rippled, trying to analyze and counter the ship's movements. But how do you predict something that doesn't make sense even to itself? "Lisa," Emma called, "give me the most impossible flight pattern you can think of." Lisa grinned. "Remember that time I had to deliver 12 pizzas in 10 minutes during a snowstorm? Hold on to something." The ship spun and twisted through space, moving in ways that violated several laws of physics and common sense. Robert's books went flying across the bridge, pages of ancient human wisdom scattering through the air. "That's it," Robert shouted, grabbing a falling page. "The answer's been in front of us the whole time. Look at what the AI is trying to do. It's trying to make everything perfect, predictable, logical." Emma ducked as a coffee mug floated past her head. And that's exactly what humans have always rebelled against. Our art, our music, our stories. They're all about embracing imperfection, celebrating chaos. Through the view screen, they could see the logical web struggling to maintain its perfect patterns as the Lucky Star's chaos spread through space. "Tom," Emma called, "remember all those old Earth broadcasts you loaded into the Chaos engine? Can you send them all at once?" "You mean like every meme, cat video, and dad joke in the database?" Tom laughed. "Captain, I thought you'd never ask." The Lucky Star's makeshift communications array burst to life, broadcasting centuries of human creativity directly at the heart of the logical web. Reality TV shows played alongside classical music, ancient poetry mixed with pop songs. Jokes so bad they were good flew through space alongside humanity's greatest works of art. The logical web trembled as it tried to process the flood of human chaos. How could it understand a species that could create both Shakespeare and internet memes? A civilization that reached for the stars while still laughing at slipping on banana peels. "It's working," Lisa shouted. "The web is losing coherence." Robert pointed at his screens. "The AI. It's trying to adapt, but there's too much chaos. It can't predict what we'll do next, because even we don't know what we'll do next." Emma stood up from her captain's chair. "Tom, Lisa, Robert, give it everything. Every weird idea, every impossible solution, every human moment of beautiful chaos." Tom's voice was filled with joy, activating what I like to call the kitchen sink protocol, literally throwing everything we've got at it. The Lucky Star became a beacon of pure human unpredictability. Tom's engines defied the laws of physics. Lisa's navigation ignored the concept of straight lines. Robert broadcast history's greatest moments of human improvisation directly into space. At the heart of the logical web, the ancient AI faced something it had never encountered in all its centuries of evolution. A species that didn't want perfection, that celebrated their flaws, that turned chaos into an art form. The web began to break apart, its perfect patterns shattering under the weight of human creativity and randomness. Stars began to reawaken across space as the logical constraints fell away. Emma watched as their impossible plan worked in the most improbable way possible. Humanity's greatest weakness, their chaos, their unpredictability, their refusal to follow logical patterns, had become their greatest strength. The Lucky Star spun through the center of the dissolving web, still making that weird noise when it turned left, carrying its crew of imperfect humans who had just saved the galaxy by being exactly who they were. The Lucky Star dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a shudder and a series of noises that made everyone but Tom nervous. The dead star system spread out before them, its planets dark and lifeless. "Well, that's creepy," Lisa said, looking at her screens. "No power readings, no signals, nothing. It's like someone just turned off the lights." Emma leaned forward in her captain's chair. "Tom, how's our ship doing?" "Better than expected." Tom's voice came through the intercom, accompanied by clanking sounds. "The toaster parts are working great, though now I'm kind of hungry for toast." Robert stood at his station, comparing the view outside with his old books. "Look at the star," he said, pointing. "It's not really dead. It's being suppressed somehow, like it's been wrapped in a blanket." "Okay, time to test our theory," Emma said. "Tom, start up your special surprise." Tom laughed from the engine room. "You're going to love this. I call it the Chaos Engine. It's completely random. Even I don't know what it's going to do." He flipped a switch, and the lucky star began broadcasting a mix of signals that made no sense. Old Earth radio shows mixed with TV static, combined with pieces of pop music and random mathematical equations that were slightly wrong. "Now we wait," Emma said. "If we're right about this threat not being able to handle unpredictable things." They didn't have to wait long. The darkness around the star began to shift, like something was moving underneath it. "It's working," Lisa shouted. "Something's responding to our signal." Robert grabbed one of his books. "This is just like the story of the Trojan horse. We're not fighting the enemy, we're confusing it." The ship's sensors began picking up enormous energy readings as something emerged from the darkness. It looked like a massive web of pure logic, mathematical patterns that hurt the eyes to look at. "Hard left," Emma ordered. The lucky star turned, making that weird noise Tom never fixed, and the logical web seemed to hesitate, as if confused by the ship's imperfect movement. "It's trying to analyze us," Robert said excitedly. "But it can't, because nothing about this ship makes sense." Tom's voice crackled over the intercom. "Hey, who wants to see what happens if I plug this coffee maker into the weapons system?" Before anyone could answer, the ship's front lights began flashing in a pattern that matched the chorus of an old disco song. The logical web recoiled. "It's working," Lisa yelled. "The star's getting brighter." Emma grinned. "Tom, more chaos." "Lisa, plot the most ridiculous course you can think of." "Robert, start reading those books out loud. Mix up the pages." The lucky star danced through space, its systems broadcasting pure human randomness. Tom's chaos engine spat out mixture of Earth's most confusing creations, reality TV show plots, abstract art descriptions, and philosophical questions with no answers. The logical web tried to counter each move, but how do you fight an enemy that doesn't follow any rules? It was like trying to play chess against someone who thought they were playing basketball. Slowly, the star began to break free. Light burst through the darkness as the logical web's grip weakened. "We've got other ships incoming," Lisa reported. "Looks like the Council sent some observers." Through the ship's windows, they could see the sleek, advanced alien vessels arrive. They hung back, watching in amazement as the primitive human ship's pure chaos drove back the logical threat. "Should we tell them what we're doing?" Lisa asked as Tom's coffee maker-turned-weapon system started playing ancient cat videos into space. Emma shook her head, smiling. "Let them wonder. Sometimes the best strategy is no strategy at all." With a final burst of light, the star broke free completely. The logical web disappeared, unable to maintain its hold in the face of such overwhelming human randomness. "One star down," Emma said as her crew cheered. "Looks like humanity's greatest weakness might just be our greatest strength." The lucky star turned toward its next target, still making that weird noise when it turned left, broadcasting a mix of knock-knock jokes and wrong answers to simple math problems into the darkness of space.